speaker is Teju Ravilochan. This is a membership program called the Unreasonable Institute. And he's been working with the release as well.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for having us. It's a privilege to be here. I run something called the Unreasonable Institute, which is an acceleration program for entrepreneurs that are tackling social and environmental problems like poverty, like access to energy, like access to clean drinking water. So 3 quick things about me. I'm 25 years old, so I don't have tremendous entrepreneurial experience. So I'm not telling you, from my perspective, a formula for guaranteed success. I don't think such a thing exists. But these are some of my observations over the past couple of years. Number 2, we've had the great fortune, though, because we don't quite have all the answers, of learning from an array of incredible mentors. We bring 25 entrepreneurs to the Unreasonable Institute for 6 weeks. They all live together. We bring out 50 entrepreneurs, people like the CTO of HP, the head of user experience at Google, a guy who brought 20 million people out of poverty, a guy started 19 companies and raised $1 billion. These are the kinds of people that we've had the great fortune of learning from, and it's some of these learnings I'd love to share with you tonight. And number 3, I really love lists of 3. So I'm going to share 3 things with you this evening in terms of advice around getting started. So those things are to attempt the impossible, to be relentlessly empirical, and to move with purpose. So attempting the impossible. How many of you have heard of Tim Ferriss, who wrote The 4-Hour Workweek? Some of you, okay. So he's a New York Times bestselling author twice. He's a successful entrepreneur, angel investor, world-renowned, and was once invited to give a talk at Princeton to about 300 MBA students. And in this talk, he said, I have a challenge for all of you. And I'll tell you what the challenge is afterward, but there's a fabulous prize. So come see me after this class if you're interested. So of the 300 students, 20 came after the class to listen to what the challenge was. And the challenge was this: reach out to 3 seemingly impossible people to contact. Bill Clinton, Richard Branson, and Oprah. Whoever achieves the most success in this task will win from me a free round-trip ticket to anywhere they want in the entire world. Fabulous prize, fabulous challenge. He says he'll be back in a week to check up on the progress and evaluate the results. So he leaves, comes back in a week, and he is remarkably surprised by the number of people that have even attempted this challenge. You have read the book, don't answer, but how many people do you think made an attempt at this challenge? 6? 10? 0. 0 people tried this challenge. When you ask them why, they said things like, oh, my brother was in town, I had to study for my final exam, I was sorting my sock drawer, But the truth is that they thought the task was impossible, and they thought surely everyone else would do a much better job than they would. But remarkably, according to the rules of the challenge, if someone had just even drafted an email that said, Dear Bill, they would have won the contest. And they would have won a free round-trip ticket to anywhere in the world. So Tim Ferriss's point in this story was, people don't even attempt. People talk themselves out of doing things that seem impossible before even trying. And our job as entrepreneurs is to face impossibility, to take those things into our own hands and to attempt them. That's the first job for all of us as entrepreneurs. And so often the competition there is far less than we actually think that it is. Attempting the impossible. Part of attempting the impossible, however, is being relentlessly empirical. So this is point number 2. It's a very, very difficult thing sometimes to immediately accomplish the things that we dream of, that we want to create. One of our mentors is a guy named Tom Chi. He's a head of user experience at Google Special Projects. And Google, after watching the movie Minority Report, starring Tom Cruise, decided that they wanted to recreate the kind of display that Tom Cruise uses in the movie, where basically he's able to manipulate his computer in the air with his hands. I don't know if you guys have seen this movie or not, but it's a remarkably cool scene. He's pulling a spreadsheet out into the air. He's moving it away and pulling out another program, this sort of thing in the air. So Tom Chi's job was to figure out how to do this. Now, there had been other technology companies that attempted this product. They'd spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. They'd spent months and months putting together this technology, and so far had failed. So Tom Chi's job was to figure out a prototype to understand the specifications around which they would design this product, to make it real enough to feel. How long would you guess it took him to come up with a prototype of this product? A year? 6 months? What's that? 6 months, 1 week? The answer is 45 minutes. So what he did was, he got a projector and screen, he put a PowerPoint presentation on it. Then he found 2 hairbands. He tied 2 pieces of fishing wire to these hairbands, looped them over a pulley, tied chopsticks on the other end, and put a mouse clicker at the bottom of the floor. What would happen is, you would put your hands in these hairbands, and if you pulled them, it would put tension on the cord over the pulley, which would depress the chopstick and would click the mouse, basically, which would either advance the slide or go to the previous slide. So what you were able to do, in essence, is stick your hands in these hairbands and go next image, next image, next image, previous image, previous image. You were able to get the experience of what Tom Cruise was actually doing without the advanced technology. Now, what was fascinating about this prototype was part of Tom Chi's objective in creating it was he wanted to understand how users would experience this product. He didn't want to make assumptions about how they should design this. He wanted to actually observe, to empirically understand how people would use this product. So he brought in some test users. They put their hands in the armbands, and whereas Tom Chi, in his excitement, was moving with these huge gestures, that he found that his users were doing barely the minimum required to advance the slide. They were just going next slide, previous slide, previous slide. Additionally, the device, like in the movie Minority Report, had you have your hands up here, high in the air. And what he found was within about 2 minutes, people got incredibly tired of holding their hands this high. It turns out when people have their hands above their hearts, it's very hard for them to keep them there. But if you can keep them below your heart, you can gesticulate all day, like a speaker on stage. So he was able to learn all of this, spending $2 in 45 minutes, instead of $100,000 in 6 months. So ultimately, attempting the impossible, achieving success as an entrepreneur is about attempting 1 million tiny experiments that help you understand how to design your product. Finally, the last thing that I'll say is to move with purpose. As an entrepreneur, you're going to face an array of obstacles. You face the constant threat of failure. And if you don't have purpose, you won't be able to push through. Let's imagine that I ask you to carry an 80-pound bag of sand across the beach for 5 miles. You have to cross those 5 miles within an hour. Your motivation to do that isn't very high. But imagine that 80 pounds is your 10-year-old daughter, and she's sick. The difference in your motivation is profound. So move with purpose. So ultimately, attempt the impossible, be relentlessly empirical, and move with purpose. Thank you very much.